Hi, everybody. I'm
Heyo.
January,
And I'm Marz.
and this is FEMMES LRG Presents Femininity and whatever we want to talk about. Today, what are we talking about today, Marz?
Today, I don't know what we're going to go with for the title, but just know the crux of the conversation is surrounding Jeremy O'Harris, and specifically his most famous, apparently the most Tony Award nominated play of all time, Slaveplay.
Crazy.
I watched the
we're gonna talk
HBO
about it.
docu special. Jan has
Yeah.
as well, and we have some background information from a trusted source as well. So we're gonna be getting into it.
Yeah, we're gonna just talk about it. But first we're gonna start off with our media topics today. Marz, do you have anything first? You want me to start or you want to start?
I'll start.
Yeah.
So Father's Day has come and gone. It got nothing to do with me, but there was a discourse that went on with Victoria Monet, and Miles, I'll send these so you can throw it up. So Victoria Monet, she tweeted, "Spending our first Father's Day together ever. A real blessing. The little girl in me is so happy. Healing," and then a bunch of other emojis. And it's a picture of them together. And I thought something that was funny that somebody else pointed out, which was you can just like look at a man and tell if he's a deadbeat. I'm not going to explain myself, but you see it. You see it. You know what I mean? And so that tweet went out, right? It was fairly popular because she's fairly popular. And then this other girl, her name is Zhanae. It's spelled Zhanae. Miles, you can throw it up here. And she says, "I'm glad you got the chance to meet him finally. I'm 23 and haven't seen him 20 years of my life. And he's never bothered to reach out to me. Wow. Anthony D. Tamor, or however you spell it. So Victoria Monet is my half-sister? Question mark.
Damn.
So,
I mean, what can you say after that? I mean, it's literally like, I think my question is just like the logic of men, right? So it's like, you have all these other kids.
Yeah.
You know that this one kid that you do have is very famous. Like, you know this, she's probably told you or someone's told you.
tale as old as time. Suddenly, I exist. 20 plus years. How old is Victoria?
She's got to be like 30 something. I think
Never ever has he been around for a single Father's Day, she says.
To me, it's just like the gumption, the gall to literally not be afraid to be outed or even just like putting this other sibling among your other kids or your other, like this. It's not fair. It's not fair. It's not right. And I'm glad there's accountability there. And I'm just hurting for all parties involved. Because one, the fact that Victoria had to go through all of that to find him. And then two, for his other daughter to have to find out that way. I mean, yeah, cool, I'm related to Victoria Monet, but also, like, that's not cool. You know, like, that's a lot of hurt there. You could tell, like, I watched her TikTok and her explaining it. And there was a lot of hurt there. And I felt really bad for her.
I didn't have the like heart to sit through the TikTok, but just from the tweet, the story is told. It's already, like I already know what went down. He's a horrible guy. He's an opportunist. Clearly sees that one of his children is blown up, and now all of a sudden he is super dad. I firmly believe that we should shame absent fathers more, like way more. Like public shaming is important and should be brought back. It does work. And also the people that are like getting in the young girl that spoke up and said, "Oh, wow, this is also my father. He has not been around in the entirety of my life." People are kind of getting on her saying, "Oh, this didn't come from a good place. You're bitter, da-da-da-da-da." Yeah. Duh. Ding, ding, ding.
Why do we keep shielding these
right
men
answer.
From accountability?
But also, all of those can also be true. She is allowed to be bitter. She is allowed to, like, call him out publicly. Because why, exactly like you said, why would you suddenly give attention to this one of your kids because she's rich and famous? Like, it's so sad. It's so embarrassing. and I'm rooting for her. I'm glad that she did that out loud. The other day I was bored. And I was like, I feel like calling my dad and just cuss him out. Like, you don't ever do that? So I feel her. Like, she deserved that. She deserved to have that moment to be able to, like, put it in his face, because, they just walk around, like, free as a bird. Free as a bird, unburdened by any of the trauma and stress it is to grow up in a single-parent household. They just get to go on about their life. So I firmly believe that we should be shaming them more publicly and loudly.
Yeah, I agree. I think there needs to be accountability there. I think that, like, for you to be able to just take a picture like that and not be afraid of any repercussions, it just kind of, like, it's just sad. I don't know. When are we going to grow up, y'all? Like, men, come on. It's
Black
time.
men, fathers in the home. Okay, and then the other one thing I wanted to get into was the presidential debate. Wah, wah. We gotta talk about it, y'all. Yeah, we do. We do. Because what are we gonna do?
I mean, like, to be, like, I watched part of it. I started watching it, but I got anxious. I couldn't keep watching it. Like, I watched the beginning when Biden came out, and I was like, what? Because I think we've all seen those videos of him, like, staring off into space or, like, turning in the wrong direction on Twitter, and you're just kind of, like, hoping, well, maybe, like, you know, whatever. And then you see him, and I was just like, these are not my options.
What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do?
Cry. I'm just gonna live my life at this point. I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep rocking until they shut it off, cause
riding this baby till the wheels fall off. No, I hear you on that point, but in regards to, I watched a TikTok that scared me right out of my boots, and dare I say, y'all mark this day, cause normally I say what I say and I stand 10 toes down on it. I don't care how many boos, how many people are against me, I have my back's against the wall. I don't care if you boo me, I've seen what makes you cheer. I'm very that, but right now, it's getting very scary. So, what they just passed, the law or the Chevron thing that they just passed, we can't let Trump appoint any more Supreme Court justices. So I say that to unfortunately say what you know I'm saying. Is for me. I can't speak for anyone else, but for me, myself, and I, and my conscience, I can't in my heart of hearts sit out of this at this point now. Yeah. Even though the other option is just as lukewarm and, like, just complacent. Project 2025, they got something for our asses. Yeah. Because that's the difference between both parties, the left and the right, is the left, they're gonna not do things, right, to just maintain the status quo, because there's lobbyists lining their pockets with lots and lots of money and cash and things. On the right, they want to maintain the status quo, but they have a direct platform and plan on every single level to ensure that they remain in power for as long as possible. And I don't know. Both are horrifying. Both are scary. Both of them are giving millions and millions of our dollars away to other countries while we in lots of cities live in squalor and everything is more expensive and we're all working more and getting less money. And I don't know.
I don't know, Frank, because honestly, like, I hear you, and it's like, I'm so torn because I'm just so upset, but it feels like a lose-lose just because, like, these things are passing while Biden is in office. And granted, yes, like, I understand that, like, him coming back, we have a chance to, I think, get, like, maybe 2 to 3 more Supreme Court justices, hopefully.
We cannot give that power to Trump.
We can't. But also, I need the left. I need Democrats.
They do nothing.
They do absolutely nothing. Like, they do absolutely nothing. And it's just kind of at this point where we're really at a stalemate of, like, I don't know. I gotta really, like...
I don't know. I'm not fully sold on it, but this has scared me to my core. It is very, very scary. It's very, very scary, giving that power to him. But then also, here you have Joe Schmo, one, a hot Cheeto away from seeing Christ or wherever they may go.
If they let him lay in bed too long, I don't even know.
You know what I'm saying? And then, I mean, you would have Kamala up next, but
I really, this is the first time, because I've always been an advocate for, like, get out and vote, you know, you got to change the system from within.
I think we talked about this.
Start from the bottom, start with your community, start with, like, your public offices in your area. Like, I've always been down for that, but, like, looking at this, I'm like,
what do we do?
Yo, what are we doing? Because, like, yes, like, okay, I would vote for Biden, but then it's like, it's just maybe prolonging it, because they don't do anything. They don't do anything. But I didn't, like, I need to do more research. I need to really, like, dig in and really assess how I'm feeling, because, like, I really feel like we're at a stalemate right now. But of course, I don't want Project 2025. You know, I don't want all of the Supreme Court justices to be appointed by Trump or his administration, essentially. So, you know, like, what I would love is for people to acknowledge the fact that Democrats have not been doing what they need to do, and not, like, gaslight us into thinking, like, you have to vote for this person because, like,
it's up to
this
you.
Is the facts. Right. Instead of acknowledging, like, hey, y'all, like, we've been telling you these are our concerns. You just don't listen to them. And because, you know, we're literally, like, screwed, that we have to vote for him. Like, it's not fair. I'm actually upset.
He literally just tweeted sometime this week, if I am reelected, I will reinstate Roe v. Wade, or whatever the proper term is. You're in the seat right now.
You could have done it the whole time, but you signed for TikTok to be banned, right?
And was like, they were adamant on that.
Adamant, but when we want it, right. Well, it's going to take time. I think they have time, because it's like they're giving time for TikTok to possibly, like, sell it to them.
Well, he's not going to do that.
He's not going to do it. So I think after a year, they'll probably just, like, update us out. You know, like, they'll make more updates, and at one point, we're not going to be able to update. And then that's what it feels like is going to happen.
Well. Oh, but anyway.
That's fun. But yeah, so yeah, I didn't want to talk about it because it just gave me anxiety when I was watching it. I literally was just sitting there like, I can't watch this, but we had to talk about it. So I appreciate you, Marz, for talking about it.
And then one more that we, unfortunately, just a little bit, let's just touch on it. Let's sprinkle it in. Amber Rose has now completely 180'd and is fully MAGA. Fully MAGA, fully conservative, on the grift. Thoughts?
My thoughts are the grift. It's more for the grift. She wants that money, and you, especially if you are black and for the right, you make a lot of money for them.
They love a token.
But I think that, like, it's really saddening because she has a mixed kid. You have a black child. At some point, the things that you're advocating for are going to hurt him.
She's biracial.
Right. Yeah. But then also, it's going to hurt her son more because,
Listen, guys. I didn't invent science. All right? I'm just noticing a pattern. 2 times is a coincidence, 3 times is a pattern. Okay?
But you know what though? Her being able to pass more, I think too, for sure. Being whiter has helped to make it more of a seamless transition, and because being more black or black American isn't as profitable as it used to be. Like 2010s was like an amazing time for her to portray herself as more black. But now Now it's not that. So So yeah, like I really worry for her son and like the things he's ingesting from seeing what she's doing, and she may think it's just a job.
Her son is so sweet and so smart.
He's so sweet, but then it's also like, I don't know. I just worry for the kids. So I hope she takes that in and changes her mind. But again, Jocelyn Hernandez was right, and she tried to tell us.
And for that lady to be right.
Was it a clock's right once a day?
You tell him, friend. That's close, but
twice once.
Exactly. Period. Because that's what I always say.
Oh God, it's twice a day. Clock's right twice a day. Thank you, producer.
Broken
Miles.
clock, friend.
Yeah. Forgot I said that. Anyway, thank you for those topics.
And you ate.
LOL. I'm trying to think if there's any other topics. Oh yeah, so one topic I want to talk about was Caitlin Clark's.
Our favorite.
She had a post-game interview, and they asked her a question pertaining to veterans. Actually, let me put it up so we can have it. And Miles, I'll send it to you in the chat. I'll just play it in here so it can link.
Us too.
And what's the best advice that Bet has given you in game this season?
Nobody gives me advice in game. I wish.
So
nobody likes me. Everybody's just, I'm all by myself.
So I was thinking about that this morning, right? Is it that she has ulterior motives, or is she just really bad with PR? Like, cause at this point, like, she's just not likable at this point.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out, cause like I think we've talked about it in the past in the episode. Like, she is being propped up and used for like overall an agenda, a thought, a feeling. It's not really like yes, she's a great player, but she's being used for other issues to, like, you know, but like, why would you say that? Because it's like, I think she's frustrated with her team. But then again, like, we've talked about this, like, the team that gets the number one spot isn't going to be the best team. And you just have to kind of understand that. But I think that, like, there's a arrogance there that really just, it makes you unlikable. Like, I think everybody deserves a space to grow. And I think that she is growing and learning how to make it in this league. Like, WNBA is tough. And I think she's learning that, but it's giving, I'm doing the best, but my team isn't. Because, like, you have two vets on your team, like Erica Wheeler and Kelsey Mitchell. Like, they're really great players on their own. And I think they do their best, but it's just like the team isn't, they need more pieces, and it's just not coming together. But I feel like if you are supposedly going to be the greatest of all time, why aren't you getting insight from others and, like, trying to build a more cohesive team? It's giving arrogant, it's giving no one wants to mess with me, and it's giving victimization. But of course we have talked about that. Marz, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, you said like, in regards to, like, her marketability, like, is she just unlikable, or does she, like, is it deliberate? Like, does she have an agenda? I feel like it might be a little bit of both, but I'm leaning more towards she just has, like, such negative personality, and not like she is a negative person, but, like, she has no personality, which isn't always the worst thing in the world. Like, there's plenty of NBA players, like, what's his name, Jokic? He don't look like he really talk to people. Well, who that man that played and won a championship with Toronto Raptors, black dude with the straight backs? He don't like to talk either. So yeah. I don't think you necessarily have Kawhi. Thank you so much. I love this. I don't think you so much necessarily have to, like, be good at speaking to press to be, I mean, it helps, but I think it's definitely what you were saying. Like, she has now, I think, to some degree, internalized this whole victim, like, everyone hates me thing, without ever really trying to, like, extend an olive branch or, like, connect with the other players in the league. Like, I feel like it's so easy to just be like, no one talks to me, like, everyone hates me. I don't know. I obviously we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Maybe she has reached out and has been iced out. I wouldn't see that happening within her own team. So to say that like no vet at all has given you any kind of advice, like that seems like more of a skill issue by that point. Like within your own team, even like there's no one that you have like a connection with or a bond that's kind of taken you under their wing and wants to like kind of, you know, help you through this as a rookie and show you the ropes. Like that, I just find that a little hard to believe. And so now she's put herself in the position where a lot of people are thinking that it's intentional. I'm really trying to give her consistently the benefit of the doubt because she is such a good player. And I don't know, I feel like so many things could have gone such differently for such an important part in the WNBA's history that's going on right now. Like, you're in a very pivotal point right now, or a pivotal position in a very like expansive moment in the WNBA, and you're just so like, no one talks to me, nobody likes me, I don't know why everyone's talking about other players like that has nothing to do with me, I just want to play basketball. Like, you're not at that point yet. You're not Jokic, you're not Kawhi Leonard yet, you haven't won anything for any of these teams yet. So to come in the league on some like, I just want to play ball, I don't know, we're just asking for a little bit more, Miss Thing.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
It's frustrating. No, that definitely, it makes sense, because you're right, like she hasn't really had enough time in the sport to kind of have the attitude. You haven't won enough. And also, the conversations surrounding her are so nuanced. You can't just dismiss it as basketball. Yeah. Like, it's not just basketball. And I think that's what's frustrating to everybody, like that acknowledgement. I wanted to play a clip from our other favorite player, Paige Beckers, and just to show, like...
She is the best, bro. She be doing everything and anything.
She really be doing it, and I wanted to show the difference in how she answers questions as compared to Caitlin. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's just a high level of basketball. I think a lot of new eyes are watching and they're impressed with the talent and impressed with the level of physicality. But that's kind of what the league has been. And I think Caitlin has brought so many new eyes to the game, and we appreciate that. And so when people tune in to watch her, they leave the game fans of so many more. So I think the game is growing a lot, and I think, people are learning about the W and how great it is and the talent level and how many stars there are. But yeah, it's impressive. I think the rookie class is doing extremely well. And just to see the level of talent and just the teams and how well they're doing, it's fun to watch.
So I don't know if it's just better media training. I don't know if it's just like more intentionality. I don't know if it's just personality wise. Like, I just think there's just a difference. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I just think that you, like we talked about, use your white privilege for good. Like, you know the impact you have. You know that things come out better for you when you speak up as opposed to your other teammates who aren't white. And I don't think it's that hard to ask to be like, hey, like, you know, advocate for your teammates. So that's kind of how I felt about that. And then next, we're going to go back to our segment, Femmephobia in the Wild. So today, it's more so, it's about Kehlani. And I'm going to play this video of her, and then we'll get into the details.
Okay, so I said this in response to someone's comment, but I'm just going to say it here. Bringing up the fact that I had a child or bringing up ex-boyfriends from 4 years ago or before, bring up situations from when I was 20. I'm 29. I will be 30 next year. I don't know why there's this inability to fathom that I'm a raging lesbian. And yes, my music is gay. Who I perform to and for is the gays. And if you're stuck in the past, it's between you and your God. If you're a man still bringing up my ex-boyfriends, just say you want to fuck.
Ooh, we're gonna have to cut that one out.
But they don't like that when you say that.
They don't like that. And it was giving, of course, toxic masculinity all the way. But I wanted to think of it as femmephobia as well, just because in the way of like, because she's not performing like her sexuality in the way that a man deems appropriate, it's like, oh, like, yeah, I guess you kind of like women, but you had a man, you had a boyfriend. Like, things can change, people can come into their own discovery, and things can happen. Like, okay, yeah, I did used to date men, I did have a kid with a man, obviously, because that's how kids are conceived, but
gay people ain't had babies before. Listen, in Atlanta right now, there's quite a few men that like men that have kids. Mm-hmm. Let's use our critical thinking.
Let's use it. Like, it's just so much ignorance there. And, you know, like she said, she was so young. That's in her past. And now she doesn't want to deal with men at all.
Now that I think about it. Because I was still in high school, I think, or right out of high school when all of that went down.
Yeah, like when we were talking about that interview she did, talking about Party Next Door, and all of the Polaroids that he had of, like, different partners, and that's how she found out he was cheating on her. Yeah.
So
crazy.
you have mentioned, because I remember when my, like, awakening of Kehlani as an artist period happened when she ended up in the hospital that one time. Okay. Was that because she was dating Party Next Door, or wasn't she dating Kyrie or something?
So, yeah, so originally the public knew that she had been dating Kyrie, but then that picture came out of her in the hospital with Party Next Door, and they were like, yo, what is going on? And basically really, like, went at her. I remember how mean they were to her.
It was, oh my God.
It was bad, but then kind of find out they vilified her. Real. Producer Miles, thank you for that. But, yeah, like, they had broken up. They had broken up quietly, and so she was dating Party Next Door. And so, like, but when you look back and think of
so hard other men, why are you so worried about what another man's ex or girlfriend is like
why are you so
you're mad on his behalf?
It's crazy, the tribalism that
so
comes
weird.
for cis straight men and other cis straight men, and you don't have that same will and love or protection for the black women that are, like, sitting right next to you, or the women that are right there protecting you, taking care of you, whatever that is, and you will literally fight for some person you've never met and never will meet.
He's not gonna let you hit them.
I remember that was a crazy time, and then I don't even think Kyrie really, like, helped her. I think that's one thing I remember vividly.
I do remember that exactly, and that made me not like him.
That. Yeah, and I remember
at that time,
like,
I wasn't even into basketball yet, but, like, I had such a disdain for how he chose to handle that situation and just let her take all of that.
She just
to the point where she didn't even want to be here no more. Bro.
I mean, yeah, and honestly, if we even looked at it, if sexuality was based on logic, why would she be
Producer
with a man?
Miles, correction.
No, I think he did come out with a statement saying they broke up amicably, but it took a while though for him to say it. Thank you, Producer Miles.
I still don't like him, and that's my choice. That's my choice. I don't even need a reason to not like somebody, to be honest with you.
No, that's real.
One day we're gonna do a Jason Derulo episode. I have a whole PowerPoint presentation as to why I don't like him.
Please do. We put it up on the screen, Fred. Please do.
Oh, don't worry. Yeah, it's still safe.
Oh, shoot. No, that would be freaking perfect.
Yeah, okay. So,
it took
in regards
years to
to
the statement.
Yeah, Miles, it's not helping his case. It's not helping his case. In the moment it mattered, he did nothing. And that's the issue.
Yeah.
I'm just providing facts. Miles said, hands up, don't shoot.
Miles, talk
he
to
said,
your
point
friends.
that thing that way. Okay.
Miles, talk to your friends, Miles.
No, talk to your friends. Talk to your friends. Talk to your friends. Talk to your friends, because we can't. Okay, so with Kehlani and the Party Next Door thing. So run me back through that. She found Polaroids of what now?
So in this interview that I saw, it's like a clip I saw. Dang.
Okay, so what's the craziest thing you've ever caught somebody doing in a relationship?
Oof, this is actually psychotic. It's actually diabolical. I found a stack of Polaroids of all the women that he cheated on me with. He was keeping them in Polaroid form. Yeah.
What?
In his travel bag.
In his... Wait.
Diabolical.
This is
I wish I was lying. I really
Wait,
do.
so how did you go in his bag? Was it like, you're just cleaning up?
Oh, I was trying to clean. We were not in town. Yeah, we weren't in town. And I was like putting things away.
And did you ask, hey, why do you have these Polaroids of hundreds of just...
No, absolutely not.
But you knew already, like...
I was 20. I was 19 or 20. I was not the girl I am today that would be like, yo, wow. I was definitely like, oh my God, terrifying. And I threw them away. And he never mentioned it to me, and I never said anything.
No,
but...
till this very day?
Oh, yeah, no.
I'm
But
glad she threw him away.
And at the party playing with his nose now. Freaky ass.
On that note, because what is that? Man, what are we doing? I'm glad she threw him away, because that's definitely revenge porn, essentially, right? Like,
it only becomes that if it comes out, but you're still a weirdo and a freak if you keep stuff from people when you're no longer with that person. That's weird. That's really weird.
Yeah, that's strange.
You need to reflect.
Strange.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for Kehlani. She been through it.
She had been through it. I remember I was still really young. I was like fresh out of high school when all of that like went down, and I had known her as an artist and was just like, I'm gonna rally behind this girl and I love her now, and I still do. Do.
Shout out to Kehlani.
She's really good.
For real.
She listens. She is active in what's going on in the world. She's great.
Yeah, shout out to Kehlani. Yeah. All right, y'all. That was our media segment for today, and now we're gonna get into this diabolical play. I don't care what nobody says. It's called Slaveplay.
Slaveplay, not a movie, a play, which we watched. Is what I would assume the closest to a documentary than it is to anything else. So that's what we're getting into. We're getting to Jeremy O. Harris. I'm coming at this again from the angle of someone that is not a thespian, that has not really worked in that realm as an adult. I've been in like a couple productions in the orchestra. I haven't performed or anything, but I do love theater, and I have a respect for theater, and specifically Black thespians and Black productions I adore. So I came into this knowing who Jeremy O. Harris is. I know who he is. I had not heard of Slaveplay at all, which, again, I've been out of the loop for quite some time, but I didn't know that was his. Now putting two and two together, I knew of that production and like people were talking about it, but I like was just like, okay, thought it was weird, ignored anything that people were talking about, and then I knew of Jeremy O. Harris because Zola also, and then he's just kind of just like been in certain circles where he's like, you can't really like miss him anymore at this point. Like he's just around. Like he was kind of an it boy for a period of time before Gerard. Do you know what I mean? So he's just like, he's been at things. I've seen him around. I know that he's queer and a writer, one of the youngest writers on Broadway. You know, a lot of accolades. Went to NYU, this, that, and the third. So not NYU. He went to Yale, which, ooh. You know, like, that's interesting. Black Yale students. Anyway, so I came at this not knowing entirely too much about Jeremy, and sat down, got through about 20 minutes, was so thoroughly confused that I had to text Jen and their partner, and because I needed to understand. But then I still powered through and watched the rest of it, and had quite a perspective of Jeremy that is very complicated. So I'll get into my perspective in a moment, but January, I would love to know your first thoughts going into Slaveplay, not a movie, a play. Were you familiar with Jeremy O. Harris's work? Had you seen anything prior to this movie? And then what was your like initial first thought of the HBO special?
So I've never seen Slaveplay like in person. I had just heard of it and people's experience through of like what it was like. I immediately upon hearing it, I'm like, this sounds disgusting. Like just hearing about people's, one thing about me, I don't always need firsthand experience to get a judgment on what's going on.
Same.
I take people's wisdom and their words because like all the people I've talked to, all of their perspectives of the shows are pretty much the same. And I was just like, okay, I've heard what I need to hear. So coming into it, I kind of already had like a buffer, so I wasn't like completely confused when watching the documentary, because I was like, okay, like I understand this man is kind of delusional a little bit, and I get it. And so yeah, so that's kind of like my intro to it. Now, until we started doing this episode, I didn't know how many Tonys nominations that he had gotten for this, and it infuriated me. Because it just kind of led me back to our episode on Gerard Carmichael and the ways in which he exploits his blackness in order for the appeal of the white gaze. And like not the white gaze like queer people, like the white gaze, like the white, but also perspective, right? Well, so yeah, I this whole show was just strange to me. It was frustrating, and it just begs the question, like, when will we free ourselves from this? So yeah, that was my first initial thought. So I'll let you get into your perspective, but that was kind of like my first initial thought going into watching the documentary.
So, which, thank you so much for your point of view. So me, having very limited previous knowledge of Jeremy, watched this whole thing, this movie, this documentary. It goes into kind of the process of him, or his process that he went through to write the production, and then it goes through quite a few rehearsals of them working through certain things, very difficult scenes for a lot of the actors, and then it does have some side-by-side comparison of actual production footage from like show nights, and then side by side with like rehearsals, or like there's a thing where they do a monologue. I don't know what like the correct term is. I feel like your partner would know, but it's like where they just they read their monologue directly to a camera. So they had a lot of those like side by side comparisons. The entirety of the production, that is going to be a separate conversation from what I'm saying right now. But this film of everything was one of the most fascinating. It's the same way I feel about when I look at Gerard's show, the reality show, just as a whole, with a wide lens. It's quite incredible. It's provoking. It's insightful. It's Jeremy himself is very interesting to me as a creative. His process is interesting. The way that he speaks is interesting. He was very interesting to me, and I just felt like this documentary was very fascinating. And those are really the only words that I have to take back from it. Like, it's cool, the production of it, like them doing the multi-layer, like he's with the editor and they're editing and he's sitting next to him, and them doing that over and over again was very funny to me. Certain points of him talking about the process were very interesting, but the same way in reflection to Gerard and in comparison to Slaveplay, the Broadway production, at no point I feel did he really know where it was going. And that's like cool to me in a certain sense, where it's like, I'm impressed that you were given this amount of money to do something and you have no clear direction. Not many Black creatives would be given such an opportunity to do that so aimlessly. So a part of me is like, that's cool, because I feel like white people get to do that all the time. But then another part is like, oh, imagine if this had been given to someone with the couth and the understanding of our history and a culture and from a different lens. Imagine what they could have done with such a budget and such a opportunity. So it's very complicated. It's nothing that I'm saying is going to make sense, but I just need to get these thoughts out. I did a Letterboxd review as soon as I finished, just because I wanted to document my thoughts as soon as possible. Hold on, give me 1 second. Okay, so I said I was hooked on the trailer because I was like, what is this, you know? I didn't say this in the thing, but the trailer alone, I was like, I need to watch this. I said I'd been familiar with Jeremy Harris, but not his works. The production of the doc itself is fascinating. And it's very true. I feel like I could have watched even more of it, just the how they choose to shoot it. And I don't know, that was just all very interesting to me. And then I said that Jeremy is very strange. The discourse surrounding the play is very necessary. And I said that there's much to think about, but someone smarter than me will be able to formulate a better think piece. But no, I am truly fascinated by Jeremy. What would possess someone to create this? Who is it for? And I think as we dive into the who is it for, it becomes quite obvious. But the production itself, I've done a lot of research into people that have actually seen it and their reactions to it, because in the same way with Gerard, I feel like a lot of people were taking clips and reacting just to that online, but from the people that have actually been there seems to be quite a pattern, and resoundingly, no matter their, like, how much money they have, if they're in theater or not in theater, white people loved that production. They loved it. And black people want him removed from theater entirely. There's not a single black person of color or black person that I've seen that has gone in and left that production and has anything positive to say about Jeremy O. Harris. And so that is telling. And I feel like it's the same kind of... It's in the same vein of Gerard and the white liberals that flock to him. So did you have any thoughts about that? I know that we both have a connection to a source that was on the inside that will remain anonymous. But what are your thoughts as to the reactions of his production?
My thoughts is overall, Jeremy O. Harris, like, I had an idea before I watched the documentary, but also watching the documentary, the carelessness that he had when it came to the thoughts, the care towards black people that are essentially being exploited in the show. Whether you want to critique it or not, debate it or not, I think people don't understand how bad slavery really was.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that people have their kinks, right? Like, because essentially, like, the whole premise of the show is a bunch of couples are using slave play in order to work out things in therapy, in couples therapy, group couples therapy, and what happens there, the dynamics that happen, and stuff like that. And people have their kinks, but I think there was just carelessness on and off the set in how he engaged with all of this. And when in a part of the show, of the documentary, when he talked about his process of how he came to creating this, I was like, oh, so you don't read books.
No.
You don't read anything. And I'm seeing a trend of black men creating works that don't read. Like, we look at him, we look at J. Cole. Gerard says he reads, but, like, I'm trying to figure out at what point are we going to stop? Like, And I don't think it's a coincidence that white liberals and white people love this show.
At all.
In this, Jeremy O. Harris says that he wanted to bring up these questions of like, okay, like you guys are laughing at the beginning, but by the end of it, you have to be confronted with the fact of why you're laughing. I don't even think it was portrayed well enough because they're not thinking that deep about it. Because it wasn't a clear point made to me for, I think, the accountability. Like, if we really want to talk about it, we need to start making and creating works that actually hold white people accountable as them, the subject, being held accountable. Why is it that with these works that black people have to continually be exploited and continually be put in a role that is embarrassing? I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. I don't think there's anything ingenuitive about it at all. I think it's really...
No.
It's really easy to do. And I don't know. Like, one of the funniest moments to me in the documentary was when the clip of the white woman getting upset during, like, a talk with Jeremy O. Harris, like, a group talk or whatever that they do, and getting upset that, like, you know, like, I'm a white woman and I've had to deal with this all my life, and you guys keep telling us that we're doing these bad things. I'm like, you're mad at this? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I'm tired of stuff being created for the white gaze that is inherently exploiting black individuals, and it's frustrating. We need to read books. We need to see how bad slavery really was and stop making a mockery out of it. Like, it's not cool. It could have been done differently, and I don't think it should be applauded that he had the gumption to do it, because it's terrible. It's not good. That's how I felt about it.
Yeah, I felt leaving that movie, like, clearly with this work, he wants you to feel something. But I left just like, I don't know how to feel. And I'm like, I don't know what that accomplished if I'm just like, just stuck, just staring at this with no actual, like, there was no profound moment of like, oh, like, I didn't have this like, oh my God, he's a genius. Like, I just think the way he creates and the way that it looks is interesting to me and quite cool. From a creative standpoint, just how he chose to do a documentary of his play. Now, does he do any sort of like introspective, like actual reflections of his work? No. And it's so apparent from what I've seen and how he interacts with people online that interact with his work or comment and critique his work, specifically black women. He has been called out, from what I've seen, countless times on his exploitation of black women and his, like, just how they are used, how rape, trigger warning, is used in his play and in this production. It's insane. So I wanted to reference, this happened during quarantine in 2020. Ziwe interviews Gerard. Now, Ziwe ain't nobody's moral barometer, okay? I'm going to say this off the top, but it is still an interesting thing to reference nonetheless. It's in reference to his connection or his interaction with black women in this in general, but specifically in this production. So this was this interview happened during quarantine. They were both at home, so it was virtual.
Now I registered Slaveplay this morning, and this is a very, very important play in like modern discourse. I would say one of the most important plays of the 21st century. So my first question to you is, Jeremy O. Harris, why do you hate black women?
I don't hate black women. My mom's a black woman. My sister's a black woman. My best friends are black.
You're related to black women? Okay, interesting.
Yes, I happen to be related to black women. I came from a black female vagina, so.
Shout out to that. Now, as someone who claims to love black women, why would you use rape as a plot device in your play?
Well, I don't know that it's rape necessarily. I think that if you talk to people like Sadia Hartman or even Soraya McDonald, the Pulitzer finalist this year, I think that they would have a more complex relationship to the last moment in my play than articulating it as rape.
Okay, so I'll just refer to those Black women and have them do the labor of defending you. Now, what was the biggest cultural...
So
I love Ziwe. I'm sorry, like she be making up people sweat, boy.
Yeah, no, she's gonna say the quiet thing out loud. And just to clear something up, again, she don't need me to defend her, but she says you're on your James Baldwin shit just because it was quarantine and he decided to move to Britain. So she was like mocking him a little bit because she was like, why'd you choose to move? Like, why are you in the UK right now? Like, why are you choosing to spend your quarantine over there? And he says like, oh, I just wanted to switch it up. Like, why would I stay there? And she was like, oh, okay, period. You're on your James Baldwin shit. Like, she was like being stupid.
Okay, I'm about to say, I was like,
yeah, no, in no way, shape, or form. So super important to reference, and definitely like popped the bubble of his, like, from my standpoint of him just being like this misunderstood artist that like makes no, he just simply doesn't care for the harm that this causes and who it causes because it's for the sake of his art. Like, he's very like Gerard, where it's like, if you're offended, then you just don't get it. You just don't get it. And I literally word searched getting it and get it on his Twitter, and he says it so many times. Like, the mirror between him and Gerard, like, it's literally, it's insane.
It's crazy.
It's insane. And also to explain a little bit as well. So when Ziwe says like, okay, so like, why do you hate black women? And he's like, no, I come from a black woman, blah 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 blah. And she goes, why do you use our word as a tactic to get across what you're trying to say in your production? And he goes, well, if you asked so and so and so and so, he references two people that were in his production. So clearly, they would have a different perspective than the average viewer of your show. But even still, why can't you answer that question? And two, why is the labor once again on a black woman that was in your production? Like, I don't think that you could really name, I think Jeremy would have a hard time finding a actual reviewer or critique, what do you call it, critic, that is a black woman that is on his side in regards to this production. And as we speak right now, as we speak right now, he's doing the West End production, so this brings up some more interesting things. Again,
what?
These are, yes, he's doing it West End right now. It just started yesterday on the 29th, and apparently right now he is doing blackout dates. So he's been online, he's been seeing that, and again, from my trusted source, that told me about their experience from watching this production, that they were one of maybe 3 black people in the entire audience that when they saw it on Broadway, both times. So now they're doing the West End production, and they're doing blackout dates where he is closing the production to non-black people and having to have a predominant audience of people of color, because he saw the comments of how many people were saying that only white people are going to see this production. Mind you, Madonna has seen it. Kanye and his girl, that crazy girl that he was dating at one point in time, Julia Fox went to go see it several times. Apparently Rihanna has seen it as well. So this was like a very, like, when it came out, it was very like a who's who was going to see it at the time. So now he's doing the West End. He's seen the comments and he's seen the critiques of it predominantly being a white audience every single time, when things such as Slaveplay and our play are being shown prominently on stage with full frontal nudity as well, mind you. And decided to start this initiative for the West End where on certain nights white people are not allowed to go. So What do you think about that?
I'm livid because this is so, like, I think it's frustrating because he keeps skirting accountability and I don't like it. Like, of course you're going to have black British people or black, like, people of color who are from Britain in the show. Like, you're not getting the full accountability. What I need him to do is come to the U.S., do a show where we all can see it, and it's affordable to people of color who can really come up in there. He needs black critics. He needs people of color who know something, who have read about slavery. And he needs to sit there and have a talk back.
Have a panel.
And have a panel and a talk back after the show so he can hear how destructive this play really is. It's not okay. It's not a joke. It's not something to laugh at. And it's actually, honestly, like, the provocativeness is trying to skirt the fact that the storytelling isn't that great.
Oh.
And that's what we have to hold accountable, these people who use black exploitation in order to skirt the fact that the story isn't really there. And it's not all the stuff that we as people of color have to go through watching this doesn't make up for the lackluster resolution, because there isn't one, because it's not that great. It's not that great. It's not. I'm going to say it out loud.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it out loud. Like, it's ridiculous. The same thing with Gerard. It wasn't that great. All that we had to go through.
Yeah.
The resolution.
That's so true.
It was so
it's
rushed.
So much to get through. It's arduous. It is laborious. Like, everything that you have to get through to a resolution that is, like, very, like, it doesn't really exist. And I felt that same way about the documentary. Like, it was arduous to get to that conclusion, to where there is kind of no conclusion and you're left with yourself.
You're just sitting there.
That's, like, a huge crutch in their art. It's up to you guys. You guys decide. And it's like, I don't know, that just feels quite a bit lazy. So again, but continue. Please continue.
No, yeah, I agree with that. And also because, like, one thing I was talking about with friends about this is that, like, everybody wants the effect that Get Out had, but cannot attain it. Because the storytelling isn't as good as Get Out was. Get Out told the story without you having to say a word. Anybody who watched that understood what was being said on both sides of the aisle.
Because it was meant for who it was meant for.
It was meant for who it was meant for. The storyline was clear. The theme was clear. And no one was like...
And
it was like the proper amount of accountability. Yeah.
It wasn't for you.
It wasn't for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was the accountability that was given properly. And I think ethically and equitably, where we were like, okay, we see all the things, we see all the parts. It was beautifully written. Like, I think the issue that I'm having with these black creatives that are just doing stuff for the white gays is that they are overshadowing the actual fact that the story isn't that great with provocativeness and shock value that is hurting black people, exploiting black people. I have an issue with that. Why don't you exploit... I'm not saying you should exploit different races or different types of people, but, like, why does it have to be black people that are at the center of the embarrassment and, like, just the self-deprecation? Like, it's just weird. It's weird. You're using other actors, other people to basically live out the things that you struggle with on the inside in yourself. Because why has this been put on a grand stage? Like, that's how I feel about it. I think there's no accountability. I think he knows what he's doing. Of course he's going to have an all people of color audience in a different country. Do it in the States. Do it in the States because you know. Because you know. Up over here. You already know.
That's why he liked it over there. He was getting ate up and down over here in regards to the discourse around slave play. He was getting ate up by black women. Majority.
He knew.
And it was all valid. They were all very valid points. Every time I was reading it, like, him going back and forth for like half a second, he'll like respond to a tweet and then they'll bring out a certain point, disappears. There's no more going on in that thread. And they were all valid critiques of that work, and a lot of it is in regards to that final scene, which, trigger warning, maybe a trigger warning over the at a certain point before we talk about Slaveplay, the final scene of the entire production is, so there's an argument between one of the couples. The couple dynamic is a black woman and a white man. They participate in their kink slave play as the white man being the master and the black woman being the slave, and the white husband has such a hard time with playing his role as the slave master when they're in their kink play, and to the point where it drives this black actress, or the black woman that's playing this character, drives her crazy and has this whole monologue where it goes off on him, talking about how they're a virus, white people are a virus, and blah, 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 blah. And eventually the white man who's playing the white master, he takes off his clothes and R-words her, and to where she responds, "Thank you, baby," and the play ends, and that is it. So a lot of people clearly, obviously, have critiques in regards to the final closing scene of this production, and his response is always, "If you get it, you get it." Like, quite literally.
I don't know. I think, like Kanye, I feel like we just have to start ignoring these people. We have to stop indulging them, because the more attention we bring them, the more we give them, the worse it gets. And, like, I know that the attention from white media probably just makes it seem like a good substitute for demoralizing a whole group of people, specifically black women. Mm-hmm. But I think if, like, collectively as a community, if we really just stopped, like, promoting or even talking about stuff like this, like, I think it would help. I think it would give some accountability or something, you know, because now I'm like, even just hearing you say this, like, talking about this, I'm like, this is sick. Why did somebody at the end of the show be like, you know what this deserves? 12 Tony nominations.
12, bro. He didn't
12
win, but
Tony.
12 is crazy.
It's infuriating. It's always just an evil barometer of, like, where we are, like, with just demographically with race. Mm-hmm. I know that the "I Have a Dream" speech has made a lot of people think that racism is over and it's not a big deal, and that we can make a mockery out of slavery. But slavery was bad. It's worse than they told us it was. It's terrible.
Not that long ago.
There's no care. Like, I think one of the things that broke my heart while watching it was, like, at the end when the black actress is, like, crying at the end of her monologue because of, like, how much it took. And it made me really hurt, because imagine being an actor having to go through that. Like, okay, yeah, you could pick roles, but at the end of the day, you're trying to work, okay? You're trying to get your bills paid or whatever. And I feel like you're exploiting those black actresses and actors in those scenes. And, you know, and, like, it's I think it's a metaphor for the way of being black in this life. Like, you're constantly having to do things that go against your inner being, what you feel, what you believe, so that you could keep surviving in a space that people don't care about you. Like, it just, and the fact that it's your own doing it is just, like, insult to injury. It's adding insult to injury. It's, like, it's disgusting. And I just don't condone it. I don't think it's right. And at some point, we have to hold this man accountable, because the fact that he can literally go to the West End and do this is actually making me sick. It's sickening.
I don't know who this is for, dude. I mean, we do know, but, like, it is...
We know.
It's very fascinating to me. So, yeah, I say all of that to say, even though he's queer, black men sometimes are going to do things like this. And he has that, like, oh, I went to Yale and blah, 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 and I've grown up in theater, and, like, using all of this to kind of embolden him. But it's just as toxic as if it were to come from a white writer. Like, it's actually, hot take, even more toxic, surprisingly. Because
it's more
you
toxic.
are black, and you are aware of our history. A lot of us a lot of black people have not read. Like, I know a lot of Southern black people that have probably not read, but they know because they have firsthand experience from their parents and their parents. And maybe that's another thing, is because we losing recipes. And when we say we're losing recipes, it's referring to a lot of things. Like, stories are not being passed down the way they used to be anymore. Our history is not being preserved, and a lot of that is by force and by fire. Literally, a lot of things were destroyed, but a lot of parents and grandparents and, you know, the grandmothers aren't in the homes no more. Like, these people, they ain't got praying grandmamas that's gonna braid their hair and tell them about what they went through as a child, and you know what I'm saying. So that adds into it. I'm not trying to give him any sort of, he don't need me, another black woman, to defend him by any means. I, as an aspiring documentarian and filmmaker, looked at this with rose-colored lenses and was like, wow, what a very strange, interesting, and provocative piece of work, just as a film. This production that is behind it, insane and violent, and very, very harmful. And I hope, I pray that there was necessary counseling set in place for the black people that were a part of this production, and that I can't speak for them. I, in a perfect world, would love to pick one of their brains and see how that process went down. A trusted source let me know that there is something called an intimacy coach that's supposed to kind of be on set for things like this. And from this source, it was very apparent to them, someone that is deeply ingrained in theater around, but mainly in the city where this was, because it was on Broadway. It was very apparent to them that there must not have been an intimacy coach, and there must not have been. So if something like that is falling through the cracks, then there are certain checks and balances that were probably not accounted for. Because again, I can tell that Jeremy is the kind of creative that is very selfish and is very self-serving, and truly thinks that they're eating everything that is being fed to them by these white liberal people that are obsessed with him. Like, he really truly has a legion, and he made his way, and he got his foot in the door, and now he's the name that he is, and he has 12 Tony nominations under his belt, and I'm sure Emmy nominations or whatever would be the equivalent for Zola that he was a part of. Like, he has a deal right now with HBO for the next 2 years, so like, he's paid, like, he's good. He did what he had to do, and now he is Jeremy O. Harris, in the same way that Gerard is now Gerard Carmichael. So I just wanted to just present all of this. A lot of my thoughts were incoherent because this piece of work is incoherent, and I'm not able, but I do know that as a black person, things like this don't make me feel good. And when I was talking with a trusted source, we brought up A Strange Loop, which, if you're unfamiliar with it, I would look into it. I don't know if there are any recordings of it anywhere, but anything that anything that Jeremy was, and the fact that both their names start with a J, like, what's that about? But anything that Jeremy was trying to do with Slaveplay, A Strange Loop has done, and beautifully, and executed very well. So yeah, again, I wish I had the theater background to like really dive into all, like, on a technical level, just how bad it was, and how he just kind of like refuses to take direction, because again, he's a very selfish creative. But just wanted to present all of these out there and just say, hey, this is what we watched recently, this is how we feel about it. So yeah, I know I had a glowing review pretty much of the movie, but literally it's just because I'm weird and I like things that make everyone feel uncomfortable, just because that type of, to evoke that type of reaction from someone it's interesting and it's quite powerful, but there has to be a limit, and it should never be at the expense of our own people. And that's why with Gerard and Jeremy, I have such a complicated view, because they have a big brain. They do. But yeah, they don't go about things properly. So those are my thoughts. Do you have any closing thoughts, Jan?
I hear you, friend. I think it is interesting, like, when you're able to evoke such a strong emotion that's hard to evoke out of somebody. But my thing is like, if the storytelling isn't good and you're putting me through this roller coaster and there's no real great ending to the story, it doesn't have to be a rosy ending, but like, if the point isn't made, you wasted my time. Yeah. And you exploited my people to waste my time. Yeah. There's a lack of apathy there. I think that we should bring back public shaming for certain things like this, because like we said with Victoria Monet's dad, like, where is the accountability? When are y'all going to step up and like really just do the internal work and go to therapy instead of making me go through this? Like that, I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at this point. But yeah, I think they are creatives in their own right. They deserve to create their art and have things that are open to interpretation. So I'll give them that. But also, I'm up for public shaming. Let's call them out.
And let's call them out. I have no skin in the game. I didn't really know Jeremy before, and I don't care too much to know him now. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was the discourse is necessary. He deserves whatever critiques he's getting, because when you create provocative things like that, you are provoking people, so they're gonna comment on it. So whatever's coming at you, I hate that it gets dismissed as like, you just don't get it. Like, girl, you ain't nobody's Sidney Poitier. You ain't nobody's James Baldwin. Please relax.
You're not that good of a writer. Sorry.
Or an
Sorry
actor,
to say it.
Sorry to say it. Zola was cool, but the writing essentially was already done for you, because an entire story that actually happened to someone was just like, So yeah. And to tell you something, I know for a fact Jeremy word searches his own name, because he has been actively like looking at reviews and stuff that people have been saying about the HBO special. So
let's tag him. Let's put the tag on it. Y'all comment his
Jeremy
name.
Searches himself. He searches.
Oh well,
himself.
I hope he searches this, because somebody in his circle isn't telling him what needs to be said. If he'd like to come on, if you want to talk about it. Oh no, there can't be. So let's go ahead, y'all. Could y'all just tag him, send it, link, whatever, because obviously somebody has not been saying it like this. Because one thing, I'll leave it at this. In some of the reviews I've seen, everybody kind of just like touchy around like the review of it. Everyone's kind of like on eggshells of like, oh, like, yeah, it was this, I'm confused, I don't know how to feel. No, I know how to feel. And if he needs clarity on what was felt, he need to watch this, or he could talk to us individually, or we could bring him on. But yeah, I hope he does search this. I hope he searches it. So y'all, please raise up the view so he can see it. That's how I feel.
I see you on Twitter. I know you be name searching yourself. I know you do. Because there's certain stuff and they got no tags. It's like, how did you see this? You're searching your name. And that's fine. I get that. You want to know what people are saying. But whenever it's a black woman, you don't seem to be listening.
Let's put it on Twitter then. You know what? Yes, we'll put it on Twitter so he can search it on there, because I
haven't really seen any video reviews of Slaveplay, the movie, on HBO. So you want people to talk about it. When you create stuff like this, people are going to create. They're going to want to have a conversation. We're having a conversation. So
freedom of speech comes with critique and consequences. So there you go. Whew, got me fired up. Marz.
That's that. Jeremy, hey, because I know you searching. So that was FEMMES LRG Presents Femininity and Slaveplay? Femininity and Jeremy O'Harris?
Yeah,
title
probably
TBA,
around
but you already see
working
it.
title. But
working title. But just wanted to say, one, if you made it this far, thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.
Make sure, please leave a comment. Tag whoever you would like.
Yeah, we'll answer back.
Like, subscribe, share it with a friend. You have all our things down below. Follow me, follow Jan, follow the pod, and we'll be back next week, guys.
Yes, bye y'all. Thanks again.
Bye. Bye, Jeremy.